Motor starten.
The V-1, or Vengeance Weapon 1, its official title was the Fieseler Fi-103. Amongst the Allies and victims of this flying bomb, it was commonly known as the Doodlebug, or Buzz Bomb, due to the buzzing sound it made as it traveled through the skies, before eventually crashing on predominantly civilian targets. The V-1 was the most successful, practical, and deadly wonder weapon the Germans possessed during the war, and is still remembered to this day, inspiring many pop culture takes on the flying bomb. V-1s were primarily used against Great Britain, most notably London. V-1 launches against London started June 13, 1944, 1 week after the Allied landings in France. 10,492 V-1s were launched against Britain in total, with upwards of 100 attacks per day. Of the total, just over 10,000 launched against Britain, 1,847 were downed by fighters, with about the same downed by anti-aircraft fire, and 232 struck barrage balloons. In total, 2,419 V-1s got within the London Civil Defence region, killing 6,184 civilians and injuring almost 18,000. Between June 13, 1944 and September 1, 1944, V-1s launched at London came primarily from ground-launched platforms. After these were overrun or destroyed by the Allies, Germany continued to launch V-1s mounted to aircraft, with the last V-1 hitting London on the 28th of March, 1945. The V-1 is a primitive cruise missile. It was designed under the codename Kirschkern or Cherry Stone. The bomb was fairly simple and inexpensive to build. The fuselage was constructed of welded sheet metal, and the wings were built using plywood. The V-1 required about 4% of the labor required to build a V-2 rocket that delivered a comparable payload. The power plant for the V-1 was a pulse jet, also inexpensively made due to it needing only the lifespan of the bomb. It could run on any grade of petroleum fuel, though this would vary the efficiency and range of the bomb. The pulse jet operated using a shutter system. Every pulse of the engine began with the shutters open. Fuel was injected behind them and ignited, and the resulting expansion of gases forced the shutters closed. As the pressure in the engine dropped following combustion, the shutters reopened and the cycle was repeated, about 50 times a second. This engine was copied by both the Americans and Soviets shortly after World War II. The guidance system for the V-1 was controlled by a magnetic compass, a barometric device, and gyroscopes, which were powered by compressed air, which also powered the pneumatic servo motors, controlling the rudder and elevator. The compressed air was housed in 2 large round bottles. Some bombs were equipped with radio transmitters, which indicated if the bomb was on course and got within a target zone. The bomb knew if it was near its target based on its odometer, which ran backwards to 0 based on the turns of a nose-mounted propeller. The same odometer armed the bomb after it traveled a safe distance from its launch site. Once the odometer reached 0, the bomb would be triggered into a steep dive. One weakness of the engine was that it didn't have the power to launch the V-1 on its own due to the V-1's high stall speed. The V-1 had to be launched either from an aircraft or a type of steam catapult, which launched the V-1 at a speed of 320 kilometers an hour, or 200 miles per hour, which was above the needed 240 kilometer an hour minimal operation speed. The V-1 made British landfall flying at 550 kilometers an hour or 340 miles per hour, but it increased speed as it reached London, upwards to 640 kilometers an hour, as it became lighter, burning off fuel. Operational range was 250 kilometers or 160 miles. When the bomb crashed down, it came with an 850 kilogram or 1,870 pound warhead of amytal explosive, which was later replaced by more powerful triolin. The bomb had 3 fuses to ensure it went off: an electrical fuse triggered by impact, a slow-acting mechanical fuse, and a third time fuse set to go off 2 hours after launch, in case the bomb had a soft landing. This was designed less as a booby trap, but more so the bomb wouldn't be recovered by enemy forces. This system worked well, and very few dud V1s were recovered. On the surface, statistics for the V1 show an ineffective weapon. About 25% of V1s hit their targets. V1s flew low enough to be hit by the majority of anti-aircraft guns. Despite being fast, V1s could still be intercepted by aircraft with a fast low-altitude airspeed, such as the Hawker Tempest. The British twin-jet engine Meteor was also fast enough to intercept the V1, shooting down 13. Anti-aircraft guns became more effective at shooting down V1s with the introduction of proximity fuses and fire control radar. Tactics also improved for intercepting V1s by fighter aircraft. This famously included sliding an interceptor's wing close under the wing of a flying bomb, which would disrupt the airflow of the V1's wing and cause it to tip and crash. However, despite a low accuracy rate and continued improvements made in destroying V1s, they can still be deemed a success. They required a significant amount of resources to intercept. A few unmanned V1s required significant resources to intercept, including numerous pilots and anti-aircraft crew. They further diverted offensive resources into finding and bombing V1 launch sites, and these launch sites only took 2 weeks to build. V1s also forced the Allies to move a substantial amount of anti-aircraft resources with them as they advanced into Europe, with heavy countermeasures being set up at Antwerp to protect the vital port. As the Allies got closer to V1 sites, this shortened the range V1s had to travel, improving accuracy. V1s were further improved upon right up until the end of the war, with accuracy improved from a 31-kilometer diameter to 11 kilometers or 7 miles, making the flying bomb a threat right up until the last weeks of the war. Though it can be said the V1 saved Luftwaffe pilots, it was not completely risk-free to those involved in its use. The Luftwaffe rushed the program. In 1,200 sorties flown by bombers, the Luftwaffe lost 77 aircraft, mostly to premature explosions while the bomb was still attached. Quality was often an issue, with many components built by slave labor at the Mittelwerk or Central Works, a German factory built underground in central Germany. Here V1s and the more advanced V2 rockets were assembled using roughly 60,000 slave laborers. 20,000 of these laborers died as they were worked to death, though some were executed and upwards of 1,500 were killed by British bombs. Other casualties came from those who were involved in flying the piloted version of the bomb. In September of 1944, a version of the V1 flying bomb was first flown using a pilot. This was the Fiesela Fi-103 Reichenberg. This piloted version was to overcome the inaccuracy of the original V1 by allowing a pilot to control it up until they were on a straight path to target, after which they were expected to quickly bail out. Pilots who volunteered for this program had no illusions about the risks. Despite being given a parachute, survival was deemed unlikely. Attacking defended targets or shipping at sea further made pilot recovery impossible. Several test pilots died in testing the 103R due to the aircraft's extremely high stall speed, which required the aircraft to be skid-landed at high speeds. Female test pilot Hannah Reich was critical in identifying the difficulties of flying the aircraft and was awarded the Iron Cross First Class for her involvement in the program. Pilots who volunteered for the program joined the Leonidas Squadron, but fortunately they never had to ride the bomb into combat, as the program was deemed a waste of human life and resources at a time when trained Luftwaffe pilots were becoming a rare thing, with virtually no fuel for training by 1945. The Japanese had a similar program flying the Cherry Blossom, a rocket-powered suicide human-guided bomb. These had little operational success and were referred to as Baka bombs, or idiot bombs, by the Allies. Ultimately, the unpiloted V-1, though crude, was a success and paved the way for cruise missiles to play a dominant role in tactics used by all modern militaries. Today, AI has been incorporated into some cruise missiles, allowing them to avoid threats, take evasive maneuvers, collaborate with other missiles, and make decisions literally on the fly. Alright, I'm Johnny. Thanks for buzzing along with me until the end of the video. And remember, the best vengeance is to win the war, so your grandkids can use the enemy's propaganda footage to make YouTube videos one day. Anyway, take care and have a nice rest of your day.